Hi there, my name's Tom. I'm a director and co-founder at the Outdoors Group. Here at the Outdoors Group, we use a forest school approach for our education that we run throughout the year. We have toddler groups, early years kindergarten, home ed groups, and we have a full-time school that supports learners with SEMH and ASD needs. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with forest school, it's an approach that was adopted from Scandinavia in the late 90s, and over the last decade or two, it's become part of a lot of mainstream provisions, especially in early years and primary, where people are using this as a section of their weekly routine as part of what they like to offer, because they understand the benefits of it. But here at the Outdoors Group, we want to use that as a full-time approach to our education. Out in Scandinavia, the children are in the outdoors, they're exposed to risk, all the elements, and they're not taught in formal academic subjects until they're at least 7 years old. And free play is at the heart of this whole concept, and that's partly what I'm here to talk to you about today. I'm here to talk to you about a little bit about the UK education system and about preparing our young people for their future and the workplace. In the UK Education Reform Summit of 2015, the UK set out their strategic objectives for the educational system, which had three key pillars: the economy, culture, and preparing children for their adult life. And it was clear that reform was needed. At the time of the summit, the young people, for the first time in our country's history, the young people were not achieving the same levels of literacy and numeracy as their grandparents' generation, and we all know these are early indicators of success for them in their adult lives. For culture, it wanted to have social justice at the heart of the education system, and I'm a true believer that education is one of our key tools for social mobility. In their third pillar, the preparation for adult life, it wanted an education that promotes persistence, grit, optimism and curiosity. And it also talks about the characteristics of children having self-reliance, self-control, social intelligence, and these were powerful early predictors of success for children in their later life. At the Outdoors Group, we believe that we can provide an education fully outdoors with lots of child-led play that can meet all of these objectives. And I think now is the time in the UK to be bold, to be creative and courageous with our style of education and start thinking outside the box and looking to countries, especially in the Scandinavian regions, where they've consistently been world top ranking providers of education. So if we're in agreement that part of the purpose of education is preparing our young people for the future workplace, what does the future workplace actually look like? We've seen that industry has already turned to AI and automation, and COVID-19 pandemic has sped up the rollout of remote working. So the workplace is going to look very different, and our young people are going to need a different skill set to operate effectively in their future workplaces. The World Economic Forum has set out what they think are going to be the top 10 key skills for the future workplace, and these have been broken down into 4 categories. It's problem solving, self-management, working with people, and technology use and development. So I need to talk to you a little bit about my journey with education and where I'm at with Forest School. And where we're filming today was our first ever Forest School site. and we used to run a Saturday club here, and I would spend all of my week creating and designing lots of fun, what I've called fun activities for our young people. And I structured the day very similar to my experience of education, because I thought that was the best thing, like to have very structured sessions and then have a break and then maybe a bit of free play, then another break, then some more like activities that are designed and set up. And it was good, it was okay, and it worked for a while. And then one day I was just about to set up my next activity and get all the kids around for doing that, and my friend who was working with me at the time, Chris, said to me, Tom, let's just wait, let's just see what happens, let's just know. That was really difficult for me at the time, because I just felt like doing the right thing was having this kind of structure and routine, and that's what I was used to, and it went really against the mold for me, against the grain, to step back and just allow kids to be kids in the woods, even though in my heart of hearts I knew that's what was good for them, but to actually do that felt very difficult. So I put the kettle back on the campfire and made probably the next strong coffee for the day. Excuse the car air in the background, but cars are everywhere these days. And I just watched, and the kids went off and played just like it was natural to them. Funny that. And there was a group of young kids, they went off and started building a den together, and another group kind of formed and started chatting and socializing, like lying on these hammock nets that we'd set out between the trees. Another group had started like a war game where they were battling these mighty enemies with their stick swords, and in this imagination role play kind of game. And then another group had gone to a little den area and set up a mud kitchen where they were selling mud pies. And I spent the rest of the day playing, and it was one of the best days I've ever had at forest school, and all the kids really enjoyed themselves. And looking back, I was like, so what did they actually learn? And just looking at those top 10 skills for set out by the World Economic Forum, I could see the young people building the den. They weren't just building a den, they had to use their verbal reasoning skills to communicate what they wanted. They had to have this shared vision, they had to collaborate, they had to work as a team. Some of them showed different leadership skills at different opportunities. They had to manage their resources, they had to use trial and error to make an awesome den. Then the group of children just sitting around chatting, lying around on a hammock, socializing. They were talking about their lives, they were talking about what interested them, their hobbies and their like music they were into, and developing their social skills. And they were just relaxed, happy children. And then we've got another set of kids like trying to fight an invisible enemy with sticks, and you're like, what on earth's going on there? And when you look at that, they're experimenting with these different emotions and experimenting with these feelings in a really safe way, and understanding what that means to them. And it's a way into developing our empathetic skills. And then similarly, you can see the young people playing in the mud kitchen, setting up their mud cafe. I mean, I had a lot of mud pies that day. It cost me a lot of sticks, but it was well worth it. But they were role playing what real life meant to them, and checking that out. And they had to, you know, build their mud pies, and different mud pies with different patterns and leaves and what have you on were worth different values and all this kind of stuff. But none of that was like taught to them. Like, you didn't have to say like, oh, you're using your math skills now or anything like that. They just went naturally out, and that's what they wanted to do. And it didn't feel like work. It wasn't like a lesson, but they were all learning, and they were all happy and confident children. And from that day on, like, I understood the value of free play and how it could be used and how it works in education. So looking at the skill set set out by the World Economic Forum, we could see at least 8 out of those 10 top 10 skills were being developed by the young people just through free play. As we sit here in June 2021, we realise that finding meaningful employment isn't the only challenge our young people are going to face. We need to build a society that is resilient, empathetic, compassionate and brave. I feel that free play and the Forest School approach has a lot to offer in developing these soft skills. So there may be times with free play where things don't go the way we'd always hoped, and there's little arguments and what have you break out. And these are great learning opportunities. They shouldn't be seen as a thing to be punished or a negative thing. They're a learning opportunity. They're a great place where we can use small issues to start developing our empathy, our conflict resolution skills, our emotional vocabulary. And at Forest School, we like to give time and space for giving the young people a chance to discuss and explore and reflect on the different situations that might occur. We also need to prepare our young people to be in a world that isn't safe. They need to learn to manage risk. You cannot manage something that you have no experience of and that you haven't been exposed to. Good play should be risky, and allowing children to take those risks at their own time, at their own pace, will develop their confidence and build their self-esteem and their overall resilience. Good play and learning doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when we stretch ourselves and we push ourselves to new limits and new expectations. Good play is hard work. We have to remember as well that not all risks are physical risks. They're emotional risks too. And when we're learning and when we're developing, we have to be able to fail in order to do that successfully. But failure carries a huge amount of emotional risk to it. So we want to encourage a generation where failure is seen as a positive thing, and that society around them accepts that failure is a necessary part of innovation and development, and that it's celebrated. It was so hard for me in the beginning of my career to let children play. It was so hard for me just to sit on my hands while I could see that the idea they were trying out was likely to fail, but I had to let that process happen and let play be their teacher. At the end of the sessions, because they'd gone through that process and experienced failure, but then had a rethink and tried again and maybe again, that we were able to reflect, and I was able to express how proud I was of the young people for giving it another go and rethinking about their approach. And this for me was a powerful learning tool, not just for their actual learning, but in their understanding and their approach to education. The charity Play UK has highlighted some barriers for children accessing play. These include pressure on green space, increase in mental health issues such as anxiety and depression, increased amount of screen time young people are having, and highly structured and organised time of their lives. So I'm here advocating that we protect our green space as a safe place for our young people to play and learn. And I want us to have the green space because it's known to support anxiety and depression. And just less screen time, please. And like, let's not have structure and rigidity around every aspect of our children's life. Let's allow them some time just to be. I'm not advocating that we don't teach our young people traditional academic subjects. I'm just advocating that we give greater credence to allowing free play as a toolkit for our education. It's been in development since before man walked the earth. It's the most developed educational system that we have. The great thing is that you don't need anything special to allow children to play. They do it naturally. We just need to learn to sit on our hands. Let's make the time and space for our young children to explore who they are, be happy and confident that they are truly unique and have a place in this world.